Welcome back to the Lovin Dubai show. Now, breaking the mold. This concept is something our guest today strongly advocates and has made it her life mission to become a spokesperson for freedom. Welcome to the show, Biafore. How are you doing?
Hi guys, this is so exciting. It's so fun. And you know, it wasn't until recently that I recognized that Lovin Dubai was such a bigger thing. Like I started following it on Instagram. I had no idea that you guys were on TikTok, but I stay relevant with everything because of you guys. So.
Thank you.
You know, I want to ask, like, have you been on any reality series or shows? Because you have such a reality star face. Like, I can totally see you in Love Island or, you know, Love Island types.
I've never been on a reality TV show, but I have almost been on The Bachelorette in America. I was casted for it, but it was in 2020, and because at the time I was living in Bali, Indonesia, they didn't want to fly me over for it because it was, you know, the pandemic happening. So I ended up not being a part of that season, but it all worked out because I ended up living an extraordinary 2020, 2021, which led me to meeting my boyfriend. So I think it was fate that I wasn't on The Bachelorette.
Who you have traveled the world with. We want to get to know you.
Yeah.
Because we know that you were you've been away for a little bit. Now you're starting your life in Dubai. Your CV could read, if we were to document what it could say: management consultant, executive advising, property developer, founder of Value Feeds, founder of Freedom University, all of these things and more. A Miss Bikini Universe winner. Where did it all start? First of all, where did you grow up?
Yeah, so I grew up in Maryland in the United States, and I, you know, always had a knack for seeing everything, experiencing everything. Even from a young age, I was driving across the country. I've driven across America 7 different times on my own, and even lived all over the country. I went to 3 different unis, one on the East Coast of America, one on the West Coast to be closer to a boyfriend I was in a relationship with at the time. Before finally leaving when I was 21, I couldn't get the funding for my senior year of uni. So instead of going to the city with all my girlfriends and starting working at a Starbucks or, you know, not necessarily going straight into the corporate world, I didn't think that anything was possible. And I didn't even know who I was at the time. So instead of going to the city where everybody was going after college, I decided to book a one-way ticket out of the country. And the rest is history. I've been living and traveling around the world for nearly a decade.
Whoa, that takes guts. Where did you, if you didn't have the finances to go to university, where did you get the finances to travel and stay abroad and all of that?
Yeah, I think for me, I've always really thought outside of the box and looked for a solution rather than always focusing on the problem. And so for me, I couldn't get the funding for senior year, and I tried anything and everything, applied to every credit card, loan, you name it, calling everyone, couldn't get it. And I just thought, you know what, this is a sign it's not in my cards. Let me go figure out who I am anyway outside the world, because I have no idea what I want to do. And I was studying marketing in uni, and it wasn't necessarily something that lit me up per se. Little did I know that was eventually going to be my whole life. And I left the country with $300. That's it. And when I got to Australia, because I booked a one-way ticket to Australia, I met my housemates online before meeting housemates online was a thing. And the first time I met them was when they picked me up. And anyway.
Because when was this?
This was 2014, 15.
Crazy.
Yeah. And so I get there and I had a couple days to make rent, and they pay rent weekly there. So I was the second that I got to Australia, it was really early in the morning, and I was immediately out just applying to jobs all over the city until I eventually got one 48 hours later. So I've always been such an action taker and not letting limitations or fear overcome what is possible. And as a result, I've been able to do really, really cool things everywhere.
That's so cool. Just to jump back, when you got when you weren't able to get that funding, you knew that it was a sign to go on and do something else, but was that hard? Because imagine you've put this many couple of years into university and then not to be able to finish your final year. Was that tricky?
Oh yeah, I mean, I will never forget. It was such a core memory for me, watching all of my friends walk across the stage from the bleachers and crying about it. Because I value education, I love it so much. I read 2 hours a day minimum. I love reading, I love learning, and it was something that I saw myself being, you know, an executive of a company one day. That was always my goal, and, you know, far surpassed many other things. But I was so devastated, but I knew that, like, you know, there must be another way to live outside of the traditional route of get a job or go to school, get a job, you know, get married and all the things. And I'm such a rebellious person that I was committed to proving and showing an example of what life could be like out of the norm. And so I kind of made it my life mission again to just do everything different.
Nice.
Wow. I mean, that's literally living life without any constraints.
Yeah.
And when you said you want to experiment everything, you clearly were not kidding. Because like for us, when we say that we want to experiment everything, that's like, you know, trying out new food. And, you know, at the best, like that's it. Like we're not going to go more than that. But for you, like going across the world, staying in Australia and like, you know, like everything was so last minute.
Yeah.
And you keep saying like you keep saying signs. So do you rely on signs a lot?
I really rely on my intuition and feeling, and I'm very observant. So I love psychology, studying human behavior, my own. I've put a lot of time on reflecting on myself, my own actions, what I'm doing, how people receive it. And I think that's been really helpful and supportive in like getting out of a sticky situation, getting out of a rock bottom moment, which I've had many. Like after Australia, I got deported and I was homeless. So like you name it, it's happened.
Oh, do tell us.
It was, so I was just really irresponsible, and like my visa ran out at the time, and I was continuing to work on like a bridging visa. And then whenever I went to come back there's a whole gap in the story. Basically, I went to Australia on a working holiday for 1 year. And to extend for a second year, you had to do 3 months on a farm. Now, I would love to do that now. I think it would be such an experience. But at the time, being 21, I don't want to do that. I want to party. So instead, I saved up a bunch of money. And I put myself back in school, and changed my major to entrepreneurship, funny enough. And I was in school for 6 months. And this is when I was also doing the competing and the fitness and stuff. And so I was on a student visa. After that, it ended. I had about 4 months of bridging. And so I couldn't work, but I went on a visa run to Thailand, spent all of my money partying in Thailand, thinking I was going to go back to Australia, go back to work. And then they red flagged me and they said, no, you can't work and you're getting deported. So. Yeah.
And you got deported. What happened after that?
I got deported, and
what does that mean? So when we say, like, I feel like we just throw out this phrase, you got deported. Like, you're at immigration's in Australia.
Yeah.
They're not letting you in.
No.
And they're like, you need to go. Where are you going? Back to Thailand?
I flew in from Malaysia, so they sent me back to Malaysia. But yeah, so I got there. It was like early in the morning. They interrogated me for 3 hours, and I thought telling the truth and like, you know, giving all the information that they would just give me a slap on the wrist. But they gave me that. They came in after 3 hours of a stack of papers saying you're out, you're getting deported. All I had was a suitcase of bikinis because I was in Thailand, just like partying. And so I was out 12 hours later. They put me in a cell under surveillance. Like, it was crazy. I was like in proper jail. And then they sent me back to Malaysia. Now, ironically, it was crazy, such a pivotal moment for me, because I went to Australia with no suitcases and no money. And I was leaving Australia with no suitcases and no money because I only had about $70 at that time. And it was crazy. And that was like such a lesson for me to start really taking my financials seriously, being more responsible. Because from there, I was homeless. I was homeless in Malaysia. I had nowhere to go. And luckily, by the grace of God, I had a bunch of people ask me to like just put up a GoFundMe. I did, and then I woke up to a few $1,000s. And from there, I went back to America.
So you were sitting in Malaysia, like, this is a scary time.
Yeah.
Like, I'm trying to put myself in that position. You were alone?
I was alone, yeah.
And you're putting up a GoFundMe page to get the money to leave the country?
It was crazy. Yeah, because I don't necessarily come from a background that could have gotten me out of that situation. It was just all on me. It was just me, or I was going to be homeless. Now, I was committed to getting out of that situation as soon as possible, rather than playing victim. Woe is me. I can't believe I'm here. Like, I'm homeless, and like really just spiral into that negative hole. And you know, I got there, I cried for a couple of days, but I was committed to like, okay, well, I need to figure something out. I need to build something. And that's when I started entrepreneurship. The second I got back to America, I chose California. And ironically, what do you do when you move to LA? You want to be in all the movies or whatever. And so that was a bucket list. I was in a random movie there. A sci-fi film. I've never watched it. Don't know if it was ever released, but it was just like,
what's it called? Maybe someone's seen it.
It's called Perfect.
Okay. Yeah. Is it on IMDb?
It is. It's on IMDb.
I gotta check it out.
And I think it was supposed to come out in 2018, but I've never watched it and I can't find it. So
as long as you got paid for it, that's all that counts.
Yeah, I did, and ate a lot of snacks. They had every single snack you could ever want on set, and I ate all of them.
We should get some snacks for the office, but tell me. So you met Richard Branson.
Yeah.
He is one of the biggest motivational speakers. What were some key lessons that you've taken from him?
Yeah, so I think one major lesson I took from him, we were spending time with Richard in July, and I think that he doesn't take life too serious. And that's huge because I don't take life too serious. And I think that has been such an attribute to being able to live the way that I do and have so many great experiences and grow business. And he doesn't focus on stress. But he focuses on having fun, being playful, being inclusive. And I think when you are very open to anything, to all people, and really focused on impact, you can change the world collectively. So that's what I learned whenever I was there.
Can I just say how casually that was said? Like, we spent time with Richard in the summer. Like, how does that even, because I know the photos, you're on Necker Island, which is his private island. Like, how does that come about?
Yeah, so my boyfriend is friends with him, and he is gone to or hang out with Richard a few different times in other places in the world. So we were going back with a group of entrepreneurs, and it was the most mind-blowing experience because there's a group of 30 of us. But there's people making hydrogen airplanes that were there. Who's 26? There's a 26-year-old girl from France building hydrogen electric airplanes at the moment. And then there's also another person from Australia who's building satellites in space to there's not much I can say too far, but pretty much changing the medical industry. Okay, but there's just some really cool things that are going on there.
That is impressive.
Yeah,
that's so cool. So, but the thing, we're talking to you, and I can just feel like you're a motivator, and your audience will say the same thing. And you can kind of dish out this advice. You've been through these rock bottom moments, and you can motivate from that. But what motivates you? Like, what actually encourages you? Like, what's your kind of like trigger that gets you out of bed in the morning, keeps you positive?
Yeah, for me, I'm just really motivated by creativity. I love creating things, working on things, being stimulated mentally. So that's why I read so much, and I love to build things and learn how they work. So every single day I'm motivated by figuring out how to do something I've never done before, breaking the status quo. Who said I can't do this and this and this and this and this and this and this? And from living living in Dubai in the last year, I've learned that nothing is impossible, and being in this environment really creates a breeding ground for believing that you can do anything. So every morning I'm just like, well, what am I going to do today? What am I going to make next? And just playing with that and believing that that is a possibility. Whoa. There we go.
We good.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are some of the characteristics people need or should develop to succeed in the way that you have?
Resourcefulness, a willingness to adaptation, self-analysis, emotional intelligence, for sure. To be open and willing to go to different events like Tony Robbins, or it doesn't even have to be that big. Like, I'm sure there's many different personal development events happening in Dubai, but seeking growth and stretching yourself, being comfortable with being uncomfortable. But I would definitely say resourcefulness and commitment to your life, really.
Write the book, girl. Amazing.
I would read it.
What does freedom mean to you?
Freedom means possibility. And I know I say that word all the time, but it means choices. It means experiences. It means satisfaction, fulfillment. And I believe freedom can be experienced no matter where you are in life, no matter where you're working, where you grew up, what your demographic is. Like, I grew up very lower middle class. All the odds were against me. I like to say, I was statistically incorrect, and that's a whole nother story. But you can create anything that you want, and I believe freedom is the opportunity for you to live life to the fullest.
That is incredible. Honestly, your journey is so inspiring, from where you were, in Malaysia, homeless, and now where you are, just touring around with Richard Branson, meeting Tony Robbins, all of that. It's so exciting. So, you're a lifestyle expert, right? So what are some of the main, the significant lessons you tell your clients, anything you do, but this and this should be followed?
Yeah, so one of the major things that I always say is nothing has meaning except for the meaning that we give it. And what I mean by that is everything is a story. It's made up. It comes from our imagination. Once upon a time, someone said, this is a computer, and we all ran with it. Once upon a time, someone said, this is a dress, and we all ran with it. But it came from their imagination. And we can recognize that all good, bad, right, wrong comes from our imagination. Why are we going to lie about the bad and make up that we're not good enough, that we can't do something, that these are the cards that were dealt against me? You're making it up. You made it up. It's just a thought. And thoughts create feelings, create emotions, create actions. So I share with people, it's like if you're living like really stagnant or not satisfied with where you are, just change the story. Every single day I play life like it's a video game. And it's like if you're the main character, you get to create the avatar when you're playing a video game, right? What superpowers you have, what you wear. You can choose to use the cheat codes of the game or not. But of course, if you're not using the cheat codes, maybe you might, go through that one level 7,000 times living on repeat. Whereas like, why don't we just be open to taking the life cheat code, plugging it in, okay, you pass that level onto the next, and it's like the levels of our lives. Mm-hmm. So I say nothing has meaning except for the meaning that we give it to lots of clients, and I allow them to reinterpret an experience rather than like focus on the negative. What's a positive, more empowering interpretation? And it completely changes the game, truly.
That mindset is incredible, and it's something that it can be learned. But did you grow up with that?
No, I grew up.
How did you build that?
I grew up in a very toxic environment, and like where it was, go to work, eat, go to sleep. There was no intimacy in the household, no connection. Like we weren't physically, like it was just we all coexisted together. And so I grew up actually very, very unhappy, angry, in a lot of pain, depressed, and actually battled with a lot of mental illness myself until eventually when I was about 21, right before going to Australia, I was actually admitted into a mental ward for depression. And I was manically depressed, and I couldn't figure out why I was in so much pain, why I felt like this, because it wasn't me. It was just something I was experiencing. I just could not understand why I was so angry. And I was there for 4 days, and I'll never forget laying there trying to figure out what got me here, number one, that there has to be a way out of feeling like this, that I'm not going to let this be the end of my life, and to figure out, being devoted to figuring out psychology and like overcoming the sadness, the anger, the pain, the hate that I once experienced. I used to be so different. And so once I left the hospital, I'll never forget, it's like the lights were brighter outside, and I call it post-traumatic growth, where every day was different from that moment. I was never the same. I remember writing handwritten notes to every single person that I either hurt or was hurt by, just to apologize and take ownership of myself. So I took lots of radical responsibility and ownership. And I just started reading and reading and reading. Like if I was walking down the street, I'm reading. If I was on the tram, I'm reading. I'm listening to an audiobook. If I'm at the gym, I was reading. Like everything, just consuming information to eventually I like to pretend like I'm a little bit of an encyclopedia. That's the goal. I love just learning. Now it's just different.
Okay, what causes cloud seeding? How does cloud seeding happen?
How does cloud seeding happen? Can I look, guys? If you are going through something, because we all go through things at different stages in our lives, like that is such a powerful message. You've hit rock bottom at many points, and you are, the antithesis of that right now. And just to show you that if anyone's going through something, you can overcome it. Like when we're going through scary, scary stages, like that was so touching.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us. This is unfortunately all the time we have with you today. I'm a little bit touched by that. How can people get in touch with you if they want to reach out to you in any way?
Get me on Instagram. It's just my first and last name. Just DM me on there, or LinkedIn if you want to work together.
You are incredible, and props to you for going through everything that you have and coming out so much stronger and taking all of that and turning it into something so great.
Yeah, thank you so much. This is so fun, guys.
Thank you so much, guys. It is Thursday morning. We're back with you every single weekday morning, same time, same place. We'll see you tomorrow morning. Thank you. A huge thanks to Cameron Biafore. That is it. Bye-bye.